With a new season for Destiny 2 almost here, I decided it's time to share some thoughts I have about the current state of the game. Overall, the most recent expansion and current season have been a mixed bag. While some parts of the game are fantastic, other parts are suffering or straight up being neglected. Please keep in mind that everything in this video is based on my opinions of the game. While I would love to discuss every detail of the game and its current state, this channel doesn't get the views to justify longer videos. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the sub bell to support the channel. As a game developer myself, I can't help but digest and take apart everything I see and experience in a game. With Destiny 2 being one of my favorite games to play, I hate having to go back and forth on how much I love it and how much I hate it. Like I mentioned before, these last few months have been a mixed bag for the game in terms of quality and quantity. One of the biggest and best parts of Beyond Light and Season 12 have been the writing, the story, and the lore. This is something that Bungie has been great at, for the most part, even during the Halo days. The story of Aramis, the Darkness, and the Secrets of Europa is one of my favorites and is among the best examples of Destiny storytelling. On top of that, we had the continuation of the Alder and Sov storyline, his redemption as the Crow, and the arrival of Xivu Arath. Almost everything that was written for Beyond Light and Season 12 is of high quality, and hopefully this will continue in each expansion and DLC. There are so many other things in the game that were of high quality that I'm only going to mention them briefly to save time. Things like weapons, armor, exotic gear, the raid, the world of Europa, the resurrection of the Cosmodrome, and the new stasis abilities are just the icing, sprinkles, and cherry on top. While some of these things aren't perfect, they are still great and are of quality that benefits the health of the game. Right in the middle, there are a few cases that don't benefit the game in any way. Some of them are somewhat unnecessary or slightly hurting the game. The biggest thing that stood out to me was the lack of a cutscene for Sigura's death. I'm sure there was a good reason for why it didn't exist, but something other than a single line of dialogue would have been better. There are some post-story activities such as simulations and empire hunts that really missed the mark. Simulations could have been a great way to simulate a whole activity that could have replaced the void left behind by the Infinite Forest. But instead they offered really short activities that tested our survival skills, which are skills we've been testing since Destiny 1. Empire hunts are just short strikes. If they had been lengthened slightly, Beyond Light could have had a decent sized addition to the strike pool, with 5 strikes instead of one new one and a remastered one from Destiny 1. Getting a little closer to the worst side of the game, there are a handful of changes that didn't sit well with me. The biggest of those things is creating solo activities. I guess I should specify they are more like pseudo solo activities. The removal of new randomly dropped exotic armor, adding harder versions of lost sectors, and forcing players to play them just to get a rare chance that any exotic drop, not the new ones, any exotic, is probably the low point for Beyond Light. It is totally fine to have a high level activity that can be completed solo, but if the rewards aren't guaranteed, then you didn't just create new content, you just created a punishment. I've been over level 1250 for 80% of the season, and I've gotten 0 new exotic drops for the 15 or so runs I've done. Scraping the bottom of the barrel are a ton of issues that aren't just hurting the game now, but they've been hurting the game for a long time. The obviously neglected and long-suffering core playlists haven't had a meaningful update in years. Instead, they've been getting smaller as maps, modes, and entire planets have been taken away. While I couldn't give a shit about trials, I'm pretty sure everyone agrees an anti-cheat is desperately needed. The Wrathborn hunts are probably the worst part of the season, the worst seasonal activity, and the worst loot grind. Despite having a great story, the season overall suffered because of this lazy excuse for a new activity. I could go on forever about Wrathborn hunts, but I don't have time to start a podcast, sadly. I think you get my point when I said earlier in the video that the current state of the game, Beyond Light, and Season of the Hunt are a mixed bag. There are so many good things and so many bad things about the game that it's hard to decide if I'm enjoying the game anymore. The biggest issues the game is facing are replayability, meaningful activities, and a fair and tolerable grind. So far, it's clear that Bungie is capable with the writing and the world design, but playing the game shouldn't feel like a chore a month or two into an expansion. I know that the most recent This Week at Bungie updates have shared some big changes that are coming. I just hope there are more changes for Season 13 than what has already been shared. With that being said, I hope that this video sheds some light on the good, bad, and ugly surrounding Destiny 2 and its current state. I would love to make these videos longer and with more details, but I need your help to grow the channel and make 2021 its biggest year. So if you enjoyed this little dive into Destiny 2, please don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, share, and hit the sub bell for future video and stream notifications.